Today's video, I'm going to review an album by the band Teenage Wrist. This is a band that I do not know very well and became interested in them because when I read the description of the band, which mentioned they were influenced by the 90s alternative music and grunge, I got interested in them. If you know my channel, you know I'm a big fan of the 90s, whether it be metal or alternative and grunge, and that's what got me interested in this band. This is the first album I ever listened to from this band, and I have listened to it a few times already, and I like what I hear, so for that reason I'm doing this review, so let's get into it. This band is from Los Angeles, California, formed in 2014 by vocalist and bass guitarist Kemptine Moeger, lead guitarist and vocalist Marshall Gallagher, and drummer Anthony Salazar. They recorded their debut EP Days in 2015, then the band released Live at Noise Coalition before signing to Epitaph Records and releasing their debut studio album Chrome Neon Jesus in 2018. They added a fourth member, guitarist Chase Barham, then in 2019 they released a 3-pack EP, Counting Flies. Afterwards, Kemptine Moeger left the band in 2019 and Chase Barham left in 2020, leaving the band as a two-piece with Gallagher and Salazar. They later released their sophomore studio album, Earth is a Black Hole, in February 2021. Now it's 2023, and this band has released Still Love on August 4th, 2023 through Epitaph Records. Sunshine is the opening track, and my first impression is that it's very noisy, and I say something like the band Sonic Youth or something like that. The vocals remind me a lot of Deftones. I can hear a Chino Moreno influence in his voice. The first part has this distorted guitar sound, but towards the second verse they bring in some cleaner guitars. Dark Sky features S.A. Martinez from 311. The song reminds me a little bit of that punk rock grunge energy of Nirvana and some of that Britpop of Oasis. S.A. Martinez from 311 does a rap section, and this part of the song actually sounds a lot like the band 311, even though I haven't really listened to them in a while, but it brought back some 90s memories for me. There are also some hard guitar parts with distortion and feedback, and that was something I thought was pretty cool. Still Love features Softcult. I didn't really know the band Softcult, but I looked them up, and they are a grunge duo consisting of twin sisters, so that sounded interesting to me. The song reminded me of one of the more atmospheric songs from the Deftones, maybe something from one of their more recent albums. The song is kind of slow, it's very fuzzy. That's how I kind of describe the atmosphere. The female vocals are more in the background at first, and they have a solo vocal part towards the end of the song. When the song ends, you hear both the male and female vocals, so I thought that worked very well in the context of the song. Digital Self is probably the catchiest song on the album, or at least the one that stuck in my head the most. Some of the guitar riffs that reminded me of Smashing Pumpkins, Simon's Dream, that type of guitar tone. The chorus is very catchy when he sings, I'm just a shadow of my digital self. It's one of those lines that resonates with you. I guess it's because of the relevance in today's age. Something Good is a song that kind of sounds a little bit like new wave music from the 80s. So I thought that was pretty cool. It was a change of pace, although they're not completely abandoning their sound. This is more of a laid-back track with some acoustic guitars and that Oasis Britpop type of sound. The song is more of a mellow and dreamy type of atmosphere with some relaxing acoustic guitars and distorted fuzzy guitars that are still present but more in the background. Wax Poetic features Sister Void. I was unfamiliar with Sister Void. I looked them up. It appears to be a female shoegaze artist, which is something I know very little about, but I like what I heard. The song was very fuzzy. I keep using that word in this review, but that's what I thought about it. This is another laid-back and dreamy type of song with female vocals coming in the second half of the song. Diorama is a soft and relaxing stripped-back acoustic song with some of those 90s style vocals. There are some distorted guitars, but they're used sparingly. I like the drum beat on this song because it's one of those songs with a slow pace and a faster drum beat, kind of the way Radiohead does in some of their later day songs. Cold Case is a pretty cool song. I like the guitar tone, which reminded me a little bit of The Cure or The Smiths. Had that bright, clean guitar tone. They also used these futuristic electronic sounds in the second half of the song, which was very interesting. Then in the last part of the song, they do these screams, which is kind of like the way Kurt Cobain used to do in Nirvana songs. Cigarette Two-Step features Fear Before the March of Flames. I guess the way to describe this song is like modern rock with some heavier distorted guitars. The song gets pretty heavy and has the distorted guitars kind of move into like this modern metalcore type of sound. Like it gets heavy later on. Then in the end they do this weird type of rap section. The song's pretty trippy, but it was a good song. Hamburger features Heavenward, which is a modern grunge band with the same frontman. This one sounds like a grunge song from the 90s with distorted power chords, but the vocals have more of a modern rock sound. This was another song where the vocals reminded me of the Deftones. The guitar work takes some twists and turns, and they also bring in some noise rock influences in the second half of the song. Sprawled is a slower song with a fuzz turned all the way up on the guitars. This one has that shoegaze or dream pop sound with a thick and hazy atmosphere. This reminded me of the Deftones again, but maybe something from like their Gore album. Then they hit you with a surprise by adding some saxophone at the end. The final song is called Paloma, aka Ketamine, and this is where you can hear them talking in the studio, getting ready to record, and then the song takes off, and it's a laid-back song with like this electronic beat in the background, and this guitar playing reminds me of that 90s grunge. I got hints of like Pearl Jam, but the song was not too bad. It was laid back. I thought the vocals sounded good, and they were delivered with emotion. The last minute of the song seemed kind of unnecessary. It was like they were like practicing, like you don't know if it's gonna like take off again, and it just kind of like felt unnecessary. But in conclusion, the album was enjoyable. I think if you're a fan of 90s alternative, you can get into it. They also had some hints of that 80s new wave or goth with bands I mentioned before, like The Cure or The Smiths. And they also had like an indie rock vibe to them. So I think they're, on the one hand, vitalizing the music with a specific decade, and on the other hand, they're bringing in some fresh ideas to the table. So I enjoyed this. My score's an 8 out of 10. Let me know in the comments what you thought. Please remember to like this video. It helps me with the algorithm. Please comment and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm going to put another video right here, probably grunge related, and I'll see you in the next one.